You know what's funny? Women think men only want to hear things like, you're handsome, you're strong, you're sexy. And yeah, we like that. Don't get me wrong. It feels good. But let me tell you something that hits a man different, something that sits deep in his soul. It ain't what most women think. See, a man could go his whole life providing, protecting, hustling, being dependable. And nobody ever really sees that. They see what he does, but they don't always speak on it. You know what men crave? Respect, recognition. That little moment when you look him in the eye and say, I'm proud of you. Now, I'm telling you, only about 1 out of 100 women even think to say that. But when they do, man, listen, it lights him up like nothing else. You can tell a man he's fine and he'll smile. You can tell him he's strong and he'll flex. But you tell a man, I'm proud of you, and he'll remember it for the rest of his life. He'll stand taller. He'll walk with his chest out. He'll go right back out into that world ready to fight harder, ready to win more, because somebody finally gave him his flowers while he was still standing. See, the world beats men up every single day. You don't even know the half of it. He's out there carrying stress, pressure, responsibility, and most times he don't even say a word about it. You think he's quiet. Now, baby, he's carrying weight. And when you speak into that and let him know you see him, you respect him, you're proud of him. You ain't just feeding his ego, you're feeding his spirit. That's why it's only 1% of women who say it. Most women never learn how much power those 4 words hold. But when you use them, when you drop that into your man's heart, you change the game. You become unforgettable. Because for a man, love sounds a whole lot like respect. So next time you're with your man, don't just tell him he looked good. Don't just tell him he's sexy. Lean in, look at him, and tell him, I'm proud of you. That's the sentence men are starving to hear. That's the one that makes him yours forever. Now let me break this down because a lot of women don't even realize this part right here. When it comes to men, you can compliment his haircut. You can say he looks good in that shirt. You can call him handsome. You can even gas him up and tell him he's sexy, and sure, he'll smile. He'll enjoy it. But deep down inside, that's not what sticks with him. That's surface level. That's like putting sugar on top of a cake. It's sweet, but it's not the thing holding everything together. Men are wired differently when it comes to what they really want to hear. And it's not about their looks, because half the time men don't even see themselves the way women see them. Most men aren't walking around thinking, man, I look so fine today. No, most of them are thinking about what they need to do, what they haven't done, what they've got to fix, how to keep everything running. So when you come at a man with just looks, base compliments, it's nice, but it doesn't hit his soul. It doesn't anchor itself in his heart. What really cuts through to a man is when you recognize what he does, who he is, the effort he puts in day after day that nobody else seems to see. Men go through life in a constant battle of proving themselves, not just to the world, but to themselves. They want to know they're doing right. They want to know their work has meaning. They want to know they matter in the bigger picture. And most times nobody tells them that. They'll work long hours. They'll fix things around the house. They'll sacrifice their own, wants to make sure the people they love are good. But at the end of the day, nobody stops to say, I see you, I notice you, and I appreciate what you're doing. That's why the compliment men crave the most isn't about appearance. It's about recognition. It's about respect. It's about being acknowledged for the role they play and the value they bring. Think about it like this. A man spends his life building. Building his career, building a future, building stability, building a sense of self. And every brick he lays, he's hoping it adds up to something that makes sense, something he can be proud of. But if nobody ever points out that wall he's building, if nobody ever says, man, you're really doing something out here, he starts to feel invisible. That's why when a woman takes the time to give him a compliment that goes deeper than the surface, it changes him. When she says, I respect how hard you work. When she says, I love how you take care of things. When she says, I feel safe with you. Those words hit him in a way looks-based compliments never could. Because now she's not just admiring his appearance. She's honoring his character. She's seeing his effort. She's validating his existence. And the truth is most men will never ask for this. They're not going to sit down and tell you, hey, I need you to say this to me. Men are taught to be silent about their needs. They're told to just keep moving, to just take the punches, to keep it all together. So if you're waiting for a man to tell you what he wants to hear, you'll be waiting forever. You got to pay attention to what he's not saying. He doesn't need to be told he's pretty. He doesn't need to be told he's hot. What he needs is to feel like somebody notices the load he carries, somebody respects the grind he puts in, somebody values what he brings to the table. That's the real compliment. That's the one that lifts him higher. That's the one that makes him feel seen in a world that usually overlooks him. See, men are simpler than people think, but they're also deeper than they let on. You can make a man smile with flattery, but you make a man's heart grow with respect. And the moment you recognize that difference, you unlock a level of connection with him most women will never touch. Because when you get past the surface and you speak to the core of who he is, you give him something he doesn't get anywhere else. And once you give that to a man, he'll never forget it. He'll never take it for granted. And he'll never stop chasing more of it from you. There's a reason why certain words hit different, why some phrases carry more weight than others. And when it comes to men, the most powerful words you can ever say to him are, I'm proud of you. Those 4 words are like fuel to his spirit, oxygen to his soul. You got to understand, most men go through their entire life hearing a whole lot of criticism, hearing what they did wrong, hearing how they need to do better, hearing what they missed. But rarely ever do they get to hear, I'm proud of you. A man could buy a house, raise kids, go to work every day, show up for his family, do everything he knows to do, and still never hear those words. That's why when a woman says it, it doesn't just sound sweet, it shifts something inside of him. It's like she's speaking to the deepest part of who he is and telling him that all the sacrifices, all the late nights, all the weight he carries on his back, it's not going unnoticed. You can tell a man he looks good, he'll smile and brush it off. You can tell him he's strong, he might flex and play around. But you tell him, I'm proud of you, and suddenly he feels like the world just got lighter. That's because those words don't just compliment his outer shell, they affirm his inner worth. They tell him he's not just working for nothing, that someone sees the grind, someone appreciates the hustle, someone respects the man he's becoming. And see, that's the piece people overlook about men. Underneath the toughness, underneath the jokes, underneath the bravado, every man has that question sitting in his heart. Am I enough? Am I doing right? Am I making an impact? And when you tell him you're proud of him, you're answering that question in the most powerful way. Imagine this. He's out there fighting battles you don't even know about. He's stressing over bills. He's thinking about the future. He's worrying about things he'll never even say out loud because men are conditioned to carry it quietly. He might come home tired. Maybe he's not always in the best mood, but he still shows up. He still takes care of things. He still provides. He still protects. And in his head, he's wondering if it's ever enough. That's when those words change everything. When you say, I'm proud of you, it tells him that all that effort is seen, that all those sacrifices matter, that he's not just spinning his wheels. It tells him he's not invisible, that somebody sees his grind, his consistency, his growth, his commitment. That validation right there, that's what makes him walk a little taller. That's what gives him the drive to keep going even when the weight of the world is on his shoulders. And the beauty of it is you don't have to wait until he does something big to say it. You don't have to wait until he gets a promotion or buys something new or makes some huge accomplishment. You can say it on the small days too. When he fixes something around the house, when he handles a problem without complaint, when he shows up even when he's tired. Because those everyday things, that's what men feel get ignored the most. They expect a pat on the back for the big victories, but the small, consistent things, those are what really define a man. And when you acknowledge that by saying, I'm proud of you, You're showing him you don't just see the highlights, you see the whole game. You're telling him you value not just what he does, but who he is. And here's the truth a lot of women don't realize. Men don't always need to be loved in the way women think love works. Men need respect. Men need acknowledgement. Men need to feel like the role they play is respected and admired. And I'm proud of you is the ultimate respect statement. It tells him he's doing something right, that he's being the man he wants to be, that he's fulfilling his role, and that you honor him for it. That's why those 4 words have so much power, because they're not just words. They're a stamp of approval. They're confirmation that he's on the right path. They're a reminder that what he does means something to the people who matter most. So when you look at your man and you want to give him something more powerful than a compliment on his looks, when you want to say something that's going to stay with him, tell him you're proud of him. Because every man, no matter how strong he seems, no matter how successful he looks, no matter how much he hides it, wants to know that somebody sees his effort and appreciates the man he's becoming. And when you give him that, you're not just speaking to his mind or his ego, you're speaking straight into his heart. Now let me tell you why this is so rare, why only about 1% of women ever even think to say it. See, society teaches women that men are supposed to be strong, supposed to be providers, supposed to never need affirmation. From the time a boy is little, people tell him don't cry, don't show weakness, don't complain, be tough. He grows up learning that he's supposed to handle everything on his own. So when he becomes a man, the expectation is already set that he doesn't need anyone to tell him he's doing good. He doesn't need anyone to pat him on the back. He doesn't need anyone to speak life into him. And because of that, most women don't even consider that a man might be starving for the exact same thing they crave. Emotional acknowledgement, recognition. Words that make him feel seen and valued. That's why only a small number of women ever stop to say it. Because they've been conditioned to think men don't need it. But here's the thing. When you're part of that 1% that does say it, you instantly stand out. It's like walking into a crowded room and being the only one who knows the secret password. Men aren't used to hearing it, so when they finally do, it hits harder than anything else. You got to think about it. Most men could go decades without ever hearing, "I'm proud of you." Maybe they'll hear, "Good job," at work once in a while. Maybe they'll get recognized for an achievement here and there, but to have a woman look him dead in the eye and say, "I'm proud of you," that's not just rare, that's unforgettable. That's the kind of moment he replays in his head when he's driving alone, when he's sitting quiet, when he's questioning himself. It becomes like a tattoo on his heart because he knows not everybody is capable of giving him that. And when you do say it, you separate yourself from the crowd without even realizing it. Men deal with surface compliments all the time. Women will tell them they're handsome, they're funny, they're strong, and while it's nice, it's predictable. But to go beyond the surface and hit them with something deep, something meaningful, something that touches the part of them nobody else acknowledges, that's what makes you the exception. That's why the 1% of women who say it are remembered, respected, and cherished differently. They become the woman that man doesn't want to lose because she's feeding a part of him that nobody else ever thought to feed. Think about how most relationships go. People get comfortable, words stop being intentional, and after a while it's just routine. That's why men are so shocked when a woman throws out something powerful like, "I'm proud of you." It breaks the routine. It makes him pause. It makes him feel a rush of emotions he didn't even know he needed. And because it's so rare, it doesn't just pass through his ears. It lodges itself in his soul. It becomes something he carries with him as motivation, as validation, as a reminder that he's not just grinding for nothing, that somebody really sees him. That's why when you join that 1%, you ain't just giving him a compliment. You're giving him fuel. And here's what else makes it powerful. Scarcity creates value. When something is rare, it instantly becomes more valuable. Men hear you're handsome from strangers, from coworkers, from friends, even from family sometimes, but how often does he hear, "I'm proud of you"? Hardly ever. So when you say it, the rarity of those words makes them priceless. It's not just another nice phrase. It's a jewel, it's gold, it's something you can't buy, can't demand, can't find everywhere. And that's why it sticks. That's why he'll remember the first time you said it, the tone of your voice, the look in your eyes, and he'll hold on to that memory tighter than you think. The truth is, most women underestimate how powerful their words are. They think men only want actions, only want physical attention, only want basic admiration. But words like, I'm proud of you, have the power to change how a man sees himself, how he moves, how he loves. And because only a tiny fraction of women understand this, it becomes the ultimate game changer. It becomes the difference between being temporary and being unforgettable. That 1% of women who speak those words create a bond that runs deeper than looks, deeper than attraction, deeper than routine. They create a connection rooted in respect and acknowledgement, and for a man, that's the kind of connection he'll fight to keep, because it's the one thing he can't find anywhere else, and life puts heavy pressure on men, and it's a pressure most people never even notice, because men are trained to carry it without complaint. Every single day, a man wakes up with weight on his shoulders, and the world expects him to just handle it. He's supposed to make sure the bills are paid, the roof stays over everyone's head, the car keeps running, the future stays stable. He's supposed to be strong when everybody else feels weak, calm when everyone else is panicking, steady when life feels shaky. And while everybody else has the freedom to cry, to vent, to break down, men are told to suck it up, to deal with it, to be a man. That's a lot of silent pressure, a lot of invisible stress, and most of the time it goes unrecognized. He might come home quiet after a long day, and you might think he's upset or distant, but what he really is tired. He's been carrying battles in his mind all day, thinking about deadlines, bills, responsibilities, and future plans. But because men are taught not to show weakness, he won't tell you about half the things he's worried about. He'll just swallow it and keep moving forward because that's what he's been trained to do. And here's the reality: that silence is heavy. That weight eats at him, even if he never admits it out loud. It's like he's fighting wars in his head with no army, just him on the front line every day trying to hold it together. And what makes it even harder is that society doesn't give men much space for vulnerability. When a woman says she's stressed, people comfort her. They tell her to rest. They ask how they can help. When a man says he's stressed, most people dismiss it or joke about it like it's not supposed to affect him. That double standard leaves men with nowhere to put that pressure except deep inside themselves. That's why so many men struggle silently. They'll laugh, they'll joke, they'll act like everything is fine, but inside they're carrying storms. And the truth is, they don't expect anyone to understand it because they've been told their whole life to just bear it. That's why when a woman takes the time to acknowledge that weight, to see past the silence, it means the world. When she says, I know you carry a lot, or I see how hard you work, or simply, I'm proud of you, she's doing more than giving him words. She's giving him relief. She's lifting some of that invisible pressure off his shoulders, reminding him he's not alone in it, showing him that somebody actually notices the struggle he hides so well. That acknowledgement is like a breath of fresh air for a man who's been suffocating under responsibility. Because even though he won't say it, every man wants to know that someone understands the battles he fights behind the scenes. You see, women often think men are unaffected by stress because they don't show it, but the silence is misleading. Men break too, they just break differently. They'll break by shutting down, by isolating, by losing energy, by carrying on but feeling numb inside. They'll never come out and say, this pressure is killing me. But you'll see it in how they withdraw, how they become quiet, how they stop smiling the same way. That's not distance, that's weight. That's the heaviness of a man who's been fighting too many invisible wars at once. And the tragedy is, because nobody acknowledges it, he feels like he has to keep doing it alone. That's why respect and acknowledgement mean more than most women realize. They're not just compliments, they're medicine. They tell a man, I see you holding it down. I see the sacrifices you're making. I know it's not easy, but I value it. And for a man who's been told all his life to never admit weakness, that acknowledgement is like being given permission to breathe. It's like finally having someone step into his corner and say, you don't have to carry this all by yourself. That doesn't mean he'll drop the weight. He's still going to carry it because that's who he is. But now he's carrying it with strength in his spirit. Instead of emptiness, the pressure on men is real, and the silence they keep about it makes it even heavier. But the smallest words, the smallest recognition, the smallest moment of appreciation from someone who matters to him can change how he carries that load. Because even though he won't say it out loud, what every man wants to know is that his effort matters, that someone sees his sacrifices, and that he's not just a machine grinding through life without acknowledgement, respect, and acknowledgement feed a man's spirit in a way flattery never could. You can tell a man he's fine. You can tell him he's strong. You can tell him he looks good in that outfit. And sure, he'll smile and he'll enjoy it in the moment, but it doesn't stick to him the way respect does. Flattery is nice. It's like sugar. It tastes sweet, but it fades quick. Respect, though, acknowledgement, those are like real food. That's what keeps a man going when life is heavy. That's what gives him the strength to get up the next day and do it all again. A man can live without compliments, but he cannot live without respect, and that's the part so many people miss. For a man, respect is love. It's how he interprets it. It's how he feels it. It's how he knows he's valued. When you acknowledge his efforts, when you notice the things he does that nobody else notices, you're not just speaking to his ears, you're speaking to his soul. You're letting him know that all those hours he worked, all those little tasks he took care of, all those sacrifices he made, they weren't wasted, they weren't invisible. That acknowledgement becomes fuel. It reminds him why he pushes so hard, why he carries the load, why he doesn't give up even when he feels exhausted. Because as much as men want to be strong for themselves, they also want to be strong for the people they love. And when those people recognize it, that's when it means the most. Think about it like this. You can tell a man, you're handsome, and he'll smile for a second, but when you tell him, I respect the way you handle things, or I'm proud of how you take care of us, that sits in his chest and it stays there. That's not something that fades after an hour. That's something he carries with him. That's the kind of statement that comes back to him when he's tired, when he's questioning himself, when he's about to give up. Those words become like a reminder that what he's doing is worth it. It's almost like planting seeds in his spirit that keep growing every time he remembers them. And here's the thing. Men rarely hear it. They'll get casual compliments sometimes, maybe even jokes or surface level attention, but deep acknowledgement is rare. That's why it's so powerful when it happens. It's not that flattery is bad, but flattery doesn't reach the real part of him, the part that needs respect to survive. Respect tells him he's not just a paycheck, not just a set of muscles, not just a person filling a role. Respect tells him he's a man of value, a man who matters, a man whose effort is not wasted. That's the language that keeps him loyal, keeps him grounded, keeps him striving, because now he feels seen. You got to understand, men are wired to build and to protect. That's where their pride is. That's where their identity lies. So when you acknowledge those things, you're not just making him feel good. You're affirming his very identity. You're telling him he's succeeding at being who he wants to be. That's why acknowledgement is stronger than flattery, because flattery brushes the surface, but acknowledgement goes to the core. And when you speak to a man's core, you give him a strength the world can't take away. A lot of times women will think, already knows I appreciate him, or knows I respect him. But the truth is, men don't just need to feel it through actions, they need to hear it. Words are powerful. The right words can heal, can motivate, can inspire, can lift a man higher than he thought he could go. You don't have to say it every day, but when you do, make it real, make it intentional, and you'll see how his whole energy shifts. He'll stand taller. He'll walk with more confidence. He'll push through things easier. Because now he has something feeding his spirit, that flattery. Never could the world beats men down constantly. It tells them they're not enough. It tells them they need to do more. It tells them to be tougher, richer, stronger. But when you come in and speak life into him with respect and acknowledgement, you're undoing some of that damage. You're giving him back what the world takes away. That's why your words carry so much power. They're not just sounds in the air, they're lifelines. And for a man who spends his whole life trying to prove himself, acknowledgement is the proof he's been waiting for, the confirmation that what he does matters, and that who he is enough. When a woman tells her man she's proud of him, it does something inside of him that's hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. It's not just a nice phrase, it's an emotional anchor. It's a bond. It's a type of connection that makes him feel safe with her in a way he doesn't feel safe anywhere else. Because men may act strong and confident on the outside, but deep down they're always questioning if they're really enough, if they're really doing right, if they're really measuring up to what they're supposed to be. And most of the time, nobody ever answers those questions for them. So when the woman he loves steps in and says those words, it's like she's answering the doubt in his heart with reassurance. And that reassurance makes his love and loyalty grow stronger than ever. Think about it. Men don't get that kind of affirmation from the world. His boss isn't pulling him aside saying, "I'm proud of you." His friends might joke around with him. They might give him a nod of respect. But they're not sitting him down telling him how much they admire what he's doing. And he's sure not going to tell himself that, because most men are their own harshest critics. They're always thinking about what they haven't done yet, where they need to go next, what they still need to accomplish. So when that one person who matters most in his life looks him in the eyes and says, "I'm proud of you," it breaks through all that noise. It tells him he's enough right now as he is, not just for what he might accomplish later, but for who he already is. And here's the beauty of it. Those words don't just make him feel good in the moment. They inspire him to keep going, to keep building, to keep loving harder. When a man feels truly respected and acknowledged, his loyalty locks in even deeper. He doesn't just see her as his partner, he sees her as his safe place, his motivator, his biggest supporter. And when a man feels that, he'll run through walls for her, he'll fight harder for the relationship, he'll give his best because he knows he's not doing it alone. That sense of being appreciated makes him want to give even more. Because every man wants to give his all to the woman who makes him feel seen. It's not about ego, it's about emotional security. Men may not admit it, but they crave security just like women do, only in a different form. For women, it's usually about safety and love. For men, it's about respect and acknowledgement. When you stutter, when you tell him you're proud, you're giving him that security. You're telling him he's not failing, he's not invisible, he's not just grinding with no purpose. You're confirming that he's doing right by you, and that confirmation cements his trust in you. That's when a man starts to open up more, to let his guard down, to be vulnerable in ways he normally wouldn't, because now he feels safe with you, and you'll notice the change in how he treats you. A man who feels respected, who feels admired, who feels like his woman is truly proud of him, carries himself differently in the relationship. He's more affectionate, more consistent, more protective, more invested. Because now he's not just loving you out of obligation or routine. He's loving you with passion, fueled by the respect he feels from you. He knows he doesn't just have a partner. He has someone who believes in him, and that belief makes him want to go above and beyond for her. That's why respect creates loyalty in a way nothing else can, because it taps into the deepest part of a man's need to be valued. And the truth is, it doesn't take big speeches or constant praise. Just those few words said with sincerity can do more than hours of flattery. A man can get compliments on his looks or jokes from his friends all day long, but when the woman he loves tells him she's proud of him, it's a moment he locks away and never forgets. He might not even respond with a big reaction, because men don't always show their emotions out loud. But believe me, inside, he's carrying that moment like a treasure. He'll replay it, he'll hold on to it, He'll let it drive him, and he'll never forget who gave it to him. That's why when a woman says it, it doesn't just encourage him, it ties him to her in a deeper way. It creates loyalty that can't be bought, can't be faked, can't be forced. Because for a man, knowing that his woman is proud of him is the ultimate validation, the ultimate respect, the ultimate love. It makes him feel like he's winning in life, not because of money, not because of success, but because the person who matters most sees him and values him. And once a man feels that, his heart is locked in, his loyalty is sealed, and his love for her grows even stronger.